the second son of Pt.2, and this supposedly ties into Tammuz. Now, is there a connection there?
The city of Saqqara, is named as the Saqqara, which is built the step pyramid, third pyramid of Zehuti, the son of Pt.2, Imhotep, Saqqara, second son of Pt.2, who was Tammuz to Sumerian. Yeah, what about it?
Yeah, is that Saqqara speaking of the second son of Tatum?
Yeah.
Or is that speaking of Tammuz? Because in other words, I'm trying to figure out, because it speaks about how Apophis and Apep was actually called Saqqara.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I think it goes into further where it's speaking about how they actually took that word and tied that word in with Saqqara.
Yeah.
From the step pyramid.
See, that's what I was trying to put earlier when I just the first question.
Right.
You got to understand that the master of the heaven and earth is taking you out of Sumerian doctrine into the Timurean doctrine. But what happened is our people are still under the spell. What happened is that the formula of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism got into your genetics, that you became so comfortable in those three monolithic religions that you like, I'm happy with that, I'm good with that, because there's no responsibility, right? But now when the master teacher came with the holy tablets, that was to bring you out of religion so he can bring you into Tamaray. But what happened is when you're dealing with this, is you're dealing with equivalence. And the equivalent of Har in Sumer will be Tammuz. That's why the master teacher said in one of the updates, they're not the same being, but they're equal in power. You feel what I'm saying? Because the counterarts, you know what I'm saying? This is like you got Michael Jordan, right? And then you got Iverson. They may be equal in stats, like that, but they're the same team. You feel me? Same thing with boxing, Mayweather, Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? Everything has an equivalent. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he's the Michael, like Mayweather would be what? The Michael Jordan of what? Of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Serena Williams would be with the Michael Jordan of what? Tennis. So it's like you're not talking about the same, but it's equivalence. You know what I'm saying? This is the same type of thing that was going on back then. You have different beings that will crash down here, conducting experiments here. And you have beings over here conducting experiments. They were doing similar things. You know what I'm saying? They were creating different hybrids. And in their culture, right? They were this is what they were. They had their titles. And I said, wow, they're kind of similar to my culture, which is the Nadaro. You know what I mean? So they would seem like equivalent, but they're not the same beings. But they had the same attributes and they did certain things together. And then what happened is when you see this book about Saqqara and Pt.2, this was how Pop was trying to show you that your Anunnaki doctrine was taking pieces from Nadaro, from the Tamarian doctrine, and they was putting it into there so they can catch you and captivate you with the spell. Because if I come to you with Christianity and you never knew what Christianity was, right? You'd be like, wow, I like this, I like that, and I'm feeling that, right? And you convert to Christianity. But then when you start studying the Bible, there's certain things that you don't understand that you can't agree with. I'm not feeling that. Then when you ask the Reverend about it, he'd be like, well, you can't question that because only God can question that. Right? So he's not even giving you the answer. And if you keep questioning him, he said you'll burn in hell forever. How many people have been in that situation where certain things you didn't understand and you had to ask the Reverend or the Imam or the Rabbi, what are you talking about? He said, well, I can't answer that. Only God can answer it because that's a mystery. Because that's not your culture. Your DNA won't latch onto it because it doesn't go with you, but you have to force yourself through the act of belief to accept that. You feel me? And this is what happened over time. They took our doctrine and combined it with the Sumerian doctrine to put you under a spell. This is why when they were casting the spell of Kingo or Leviathan all over the planet Earth, they created formulaic spells to get certain type of people who would live in a certain area, certain different environments that was terraformed by different species of extraterrestrials. So when you go to Greece, they will call it Zeus, Apollo, Aphrodite, right? When you go to Sumeria, they call it Anu, Ninti, and Murdoch. When you go to Egypt, that will be Amun-Ra, Sakumet, and Re. So you know what I'm saying? So they were taking different formulas, right? And they would repackage them. And in Christianity, that would be what? Jesus, God, and Mary. You feel me? So it's the same story that was being recycled, but they put their little piece onto it and they add a little spell into it, and this is how they captivate you. And you're attracted to your own story because it's in your genetics. And when you read it, your genetic exposures will go off. But then what happens is the other stuff come in, and this is how you get spellbound. So that answer your question?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely. Appreciate it.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
Hotep.
Yes, Hatep.
I was wondering, did the Anunnaki have any influence on the technologies of Nikola Tesla, or was it?
No.
No.
Nikola Tesla was a Venerian. He was from Venus. So his answer, let's break that to this. You got Microsoft, right? Who's over Microsoft? Everybody know? Okay. Then who's over Apple?
Steve Jobs.
Okay, those are two different geniuses, right? They have two different type of technologies, right? What happened is the same way it was in ancient times. Different extraterrestrial beings had a certain type of technology because it took them years and millions of years or thousands of years to evolve into that technology. You feel me? At one time, you were sitting there carrying heavy stuff on your back. You said, you know what? This is breaking my back. I need to come up with something to move all these heavy stones. Then you came up with that concept of a wheel. You put two logs in the wheel, and you said, okay, now I have a cart. So you start evolving. That's a form of technology. You know what I mean? Where you make things easier and you start evolving into a higher learning or higher knowledge, right? So wherever the beings came from, they were given technology from their ancestors. You feel me? And it was passed down generation to generation, and they kept evolving onto the technology because their minds start moving faster, and they come up with new ideas, and they start evolving in more things. Different species of beings came here and gave certain beings technology. Like we had the Pleiadians gave the United States government certain technology. But you got to remember this: when Thomas Edison, who's a thief, was taking people's technologies and saying it was his, Tesla came on the scene with what they call alternative currents, which you call AC. While Wu-Sabat would deal with DC, which is direct current, and when they didn't know about it, a certain amount of miles that the direct current was going, it will actually burn out and cause a fire or whatever. It would shut down. Because Tesla came on the scene with alternative currency, right, where it actually lasts long and it alternates to, or they alternate to, power, right? They had a problem with Tesla because Tesla was bringing inventions or technology from Phoenician, or what you call Venus. But these beings from Venus actually came from here first, and they migrated to Mars. You say now it depends on what beings were their ancestors. Because it could have been the Anunnaki. It could have been the Pleiadians. It could have been the Aldebarans. It could have been some of the Dr. Otto. You think? Because you got to remember that different beings were mixing in and crossbreeding with different species, and they were getting their technology through the genomes. Some of these beings have the ability to tap into their genetics. For instance, what do you do? How old are you?
17.
Okay, what do you want to be?
A biomedical engineer.
Okay, a biomedical engineer. That means you go to school, you study all that, right? Now, when you get to the point that you study everything you did as bioengineering, right, you're going to die. But you have a daughter. So everything that you learn is in your genetics, and it goes into like the RNA, which is, that actually puts in all the information in the DNA, right? And you pass that to your daughter because your daughter doesn't use the higher portions of her brain, right, which is the 100% that we used to use in ancient Tamarack when we do certain things, right? Now, if she was able to activate that, she can actually, everything that you learn by bioengineering she will actually know that. You hear me? So when you start crossbreeding with different species that have different technology, right, it's in the genes. If they're able to, see, these ancient beings were able to access their genes and use certain knowledges to create different things. So you can crossbreed different technology from Pleiades, from Mars, from Venus, and so on. You feel me? And create new inventions, but they're not really that new, but it's just like you can just add on to it. You know what I'm saying? This company produces Windows, which is Bill Gates. This company uses Bluetooth and the iTunes technology, and you combine them both. You create a new technology with it, which is the iTouch, where you can touch the pad, and you ain't got to use buttons no more. But you have to crossbreed. So a lot of people don't know that Steve Jobs is the one that came with the touch when he created a company called Next, where he was doing the Palm Pilot computer back then, which is actually the blueprint of what the iPod is. But they were stealing each other's technology, which is a trade secret, and they was combining the technology, and then that's what they call a trade infringement when these guys are, trademark infringement when these guys are, or patents, where you can't use the Apple technology on your so-called tablet because they got a patent. So that's why they had made a law where you can't take the engineers from Apple and hire them in your company because they can bring trade secrets over there and they say they create new technology. They make you guys lawsuits. So what happened is in your genetics, whether you're a cook, a chef, a carpenter, every different thing that you have learned through all your ancestors, right? You can tap into that genetics and get that information and know certain things. This is why when the Picasso came into ancient Egypt, they had to understand how these guys were able to do certain things because this is the genes. Remember, like you said, the blood, the genes, it's all in the genes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I know you have some questions, right? Y'all just coming with questions, ain't y'all? Yeah, go ahead. making me think. I gotta pull back some old jewels from back in the, you know what I'm talking about, back in the day when Pop used to teach the classes back then.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'd like to ask, could you explain this genetic makeup of these genes that we can tap into to understand the technology of our ancestors then?
You have to be taught by a master.
I see.
Meaning that you don't have to, listen, let me break that down. Think of something that you made. Do you have a hobby?
I have many hobbies.
You have what?
Many.
Name one of your hobbies.
I play the piano.
Okay, but you have to sit there and remember the chords, keys, and everything. But you have done it so long that you can actually touch it, close your eyes, and you can play a note, right or wrong, right? That's in your genetics, right? So you already tap into memory that you have right now present, right? Once the master teacher gets you back into your right state of mind, right? You have to learn your tones. That's why the book called 18, DNA tone molecule DNA frequencies, right? Once you learn your tone, you have to speak your language. It's kind of hard to really break down RNA, DNA, and explain it in layman terms to English-speaking people, because when you sit there and read the definition for RNA, all you hear cellular, nuclear, and then you go then you got to learn each definition for that, and then when you learn definition, it's a definition for definition, and it's like a cycle of spells that you go through, so you can only relate to what the Caucasian gives you, right? But once you learn Wu-nuwaupu or Nuwaupic language, right, it's even more simpler. It's going with your DNA. That it actually unlocks certain portions of your brain that you don't use. It's kind of hard for you to comprehend definitions and stuff like that. Because if I want you to explain to me about tones and piano tones, like she talked about, biomechanical engineer, you couldn't say that to a person from the streets. But our master teacher is so powerful in the day and time that he can take the most scientific stuff, right, and water it down and make it so simple that the average person on the street can understand it. This is what he's done for many years. He has to literally format our Nuwaupian language and our way of life and our sciences, our ancient spiritual sciences, into the books, into an English format so you can be able to understand it, but you're not getting the full essence of it. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because every time you break down something in the book, you got to go to the Caucasian for a definition. Certain words in the Nuwaupic language cannot be translated into English, so you have to find an equivalent. The same way when we was Muslim as an Ansar Allah community, there's certain words in the Arabic language that you can't even translate into English. Like when Pop said, he's an ilah mutajasid. What does that mean? Well, I can't find an English word for it. In the Hindu language, they call it avatar. Oh, I understand that now. You know what I mean? But he had to go to another language and then bring it to the English for you to understand that. You feel me? Because you're not getting the full essence of the doctrine. You're still in information. In order to get out formation, you got to learn the Nuwaupic language, right? Once you get the Nuwaupic language, you start breaking the spell, because we're still under the spell. No matter how many scrolls you read, right? You're still breaking the spell of the religious doctrine that you've been you've been captivated with, right? But once you get past that, you're still under the spell of English. Do you understand what I'm saying? So certain things that you can't even comprehend about your creation because you're dealing with their tones and their definitions and their meanings. You hear me? But once you learn the Nuwaupic language, right, you start going inside genetically and it start opening up different centers of your brain that you never used before. And once you do that, you'll have access to all that. Then the master teacher will teach you how to control that. But then you got to get past me, myself, and I, selfishness, because I'm gonna be real with you. All of us still think like white people. Because you speak their language, you eat their food, you wear their clothes. You know what I mean? What is it about you that's African? Do you have at least one African outfit in your closet? You see what I mean for me? But we done it so long, it became a habit. Like he was asking earlier, what's within a habit? Who asked me that question? About a habit and addiction.
Online.
Oh, that's an online question. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So it becomes a habit to be like the white man. Because this is all you know. But once you get back into your right state of mind, using your language, then you actually start opening up the center of your brain, and then you become a god again.
So I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is Nuwaupic the only language that we can find to understand this scientific
In order for a Hindu to activate his inner power, he would have to speak his natural language.
I see.
Do you understand what I'm saying? See, I'm going to break something down to you. You understand? Species. Do you understand it? Anybody understand what I mean by species? Lion, a tiger, and a cheetah are 3 different species of cats. But they're still cats. But they don't get along because they're different species. We're under the spell of this so-called hippie universal love and unity thing, right? That all black people are related. No, because every black people are different species. Like, I'm looking at you, you don't like him, you don't like me, you definitely don't like him. You know what I mean? So that means that you're of a different species of African. You feel me? Even though you might have a little mixture, a little Puerto Rican, little Latino, little Native American in your bloodline, but you wouldn't go around them, they ain't gonna accept you. But you can find your face in Africa somewhere that's been mixed in. Formulas are still the same formulas of mixture, but they call them different names. A Portuguese is nothing but a pale Caucasian mixed in with an African that creates Fulanis in certain tribes of Africa. You know what I mean? But then you go to Brazil, that same Portuguese mixed with African, they call them Brazilians. You know what I mean? So it's still the same formulas, but it's the different names they give you. You know what I mean? As a species, you have to, like my brother was saying earlier, tones and vibrations. You understand what I'm saying? In order for me, if you're vibrating on, is it A for human beings? F is for the planet Earth.
Our body vibrates on F, but our wavelength is A.
Yeah, but the planet Earth, A. As a human being, we vibrate on an A, right? Now, if I take a tuning fork, like I mentioned to you, and hit a tuning fork, it will vibrate, and you will actually be in tune with that vibration. Now, he said if you take an A tuning fork and put a C tuning fork and you hit it, the C won't vibrate. If another A but the other A tuning fork behind it will vibrate, it will actually pass through the C tuning fork and cause this other one to vibrate. Take two tuning forks and you take one, the vibrates from this will make this one vibrate. But it won't vibrate on C because it's not on the same frequency. You feel me? So certain species vibrate on different species. Do you consider yourself a Hindu?
I believe I have some Nigerian in my.
Nigerians are not Hindus. But you go to India, could you pass up as an Indian?
I could not.
If you go to Ireland, could you pass as an Ireland?
No.
Huh? How about Hawaii?
No.
Okay, so that means you had to go with the people that will accept you and what you are. You may have a little mixture, but your mixture is something in you that's more dominant. Patarak, the way, will show you which one you are, and to show you how to control the Garo part, where you can actually push the other side to the side. Patarak is a genetic doctrine. You know what I mean? It's our way, the way. Meaning that in order for you to transform back, you have to be given your spiritual doctrine back. Because you've been given everybody else's doctrine and you're not vibrating on that doctrine. But once you start vibrating on your natural doctrine, you start elevating. And I understand what you mean by is Wu-nuwaup the only language, because it's your genetic language. Because your genetic language vibrates on your frequency of your body and your spirit and your soul and your akar, which is your ethers. You feel me? Or your oversoul. You feel me? When you're speaking their language, you're vibrating on their frequency level. You know what I mean? That means that when you're vibrating on their level, the beings that's attuned to that vibration can actually go inside your body and cause you to do different things. You ever be the guy who said, oh, he's cute, and I like the way he look, and then later on you say, oh, he's ugly. You ever got that before? You never met no guy you liked and then you didn't like him later on? Huh? I'm pretty sure y'all have been in that situation before, right? But it's not what you like. It's just something that you were indoctrinated with when you watch a certain picture of Brad Pitt. If you keep watching Brad Pitt over a long period of time, you start thinking he's cute. Because you might know the way he acts and stuff like that. Then women start saying, oh, Brad Pitt, he's a good looking. But you look at Brad Pitt, he's like a younger version of Robert Redford, and he's busted. But the whole thing is y'all got so caught up in that look, you got used to it. Because you see him every week, every movie, and you're like, oh, I like the movie. Tom Cruise, same thing. So we get caught up in what we think we like because we being indoctrinated by it. You feel me? So the Caucasian vibrate on certain frequency levels. So when you start eating their food, you're on a frequency level. When you start speaking their language, you're on a frequency level. When you start wearing their clothes, you're on a frequency level. So then when I bring some African to you, like, oh, I don't like that crap. Ugh, what's that? Because you're not even vibrating on the African level no more, so it looks hideous to you. Because you're on the Caucasian side. Even the recreation that the Caucasian got, you start like, oh, I like this, I like that. Oh, I'm living my life. You know what I mean? But then when you get older, start slowing down, like, damn, I wasted my whole life doing this crazy stuff, and now you're in the hospital from all the different stuff that you have done that was destructive to your body. Y'all know, you only live once, I do what I want, and then you drink, smoke, and do all this stuff that you thought was fun. And when you get older, you can't do it no more because you're on dialysis. You feel me? When you should have practiced your natural nature, where you don't have to get burnt, you burn your body out, and you can actually walk around as a 6-year-old, almost looking young as a 20-year-old. Because you got some women who take care of their body so good that they're stepping to the young girls. You got a 25-year-old young girl look like a 48-year-old woman because she didn't party, had sex, and burn her body out so much that she looks old. You You ever see somebody who look real healthy and they get on meth, and their teeth fall out of their body, but they become like zombie looking? This is what happens. See, meth speeds up and burn you out quicker. Crystal meth, right? But then when you take stuff like cigarettes, smoking, drinking alcohol that will tear your liver up and stuff, and so on, it takes a longer process than meth, because meth hits you just like, bow. This way, it takes a little bit more longer. But then at the time you hit 25, you look old, like somebody's grandma. And then somebody say, hey, is that your daughter? No, that's my sister. And you're like, I'm sorry, I just thought you were older. You look older than what you, and women get offended when you say that. So, that's the worst thing you can tell a woman. You look older than what you look. Well, you look 19, and before that, thank you. But then you say, you're 19, you're like you're 40. Oh, you nigga. Don't be saying that to me. You feel me? So it's like you speak, you break down your body because you're practicing a culture that has nothing to do with you. What's your favorite food?
I like vegetables.
Okay, besides vegetables, like dishes. Okay, what's your favorite dish?
I like sushi and ramen.
Okay, sushi. Are you Japanese?
No, I'm not.
So why would you eat something that's not part of your culture? I know you like. I like sushi too, but it's not part of your culture because we didn't eat sushi like that. We don't eat raw fish. First, we didn't eat meat, period. Just like a master teacher said, if you go back to Egypt, right, or even go online and look at the mummies that they took out of the pyramids, right, all their teeth are flat. They have no canines. You hear me? All their teeth are flat because they were herbivores. They didn't eat meat. But you got it now because you crossbred it with different species, and you all start eating meat at a young age, and you start developing incisors. You hear me? But you eat sushi, but sushi is a Japanese dish. Shrimp Alfredo is Italy. Pizzas from China. You feel me? So you going to Applebee's and Spun Divots and all these different restaurants, and you're looking at the menu. It's a world menu. It's hamburgers from German. Hot dogs are from German. Frankfurters. You know what I'm saying? That's a German food. You know what I'm saying? Patties. That's an old English food because they used to call them meat pies. Jerk chicken come from India. Jerk is from curry is from India. So you're eating stuff that's not on your menu, and then you wonder why we have obese or we have health issues when we're eating outside our country or our culture. Because you got to understand natural nature. When you're raised in a certain environment, you're in tune with that environment and you eat the foods of that land, and that's good for your body. But once you come out of that environment, you're eating other different foods, it has a different effect on your body. Did that answer your question? You need some more? Sure? Okay, I got you. And with that, I'd like to pass the class over to my brother Kerr Hatch.
Just want to add on to what the brother Zamal Atun was saying as far as about speaking your own language, just to drive it home. This is Patarak dimensional shift. And verse 71 says, it has to do with tones, sounds, as used in each word. As you sing, chant, pray, or speak, the use of grammatic pronunciation of your own language, using your own tongue and giving voice box tones and numbers as in music, opens your imagination and access to other dimensions of your etheric being by your emotional being, ba'a or soul, which activates your subconscious mind to remember when you were divine, now lost under Nawam, this spell asleep, or Kingu. You can remember those deeply buried powers of your divine mind from your zero time reference. So that's the importance and the power of language. Just to add on what he was saying based upon the sister question. Are there any more questions?
I'm just taking a look at the Black Dot Helix book. I just picked it up.
I mean, Master Secret.
Yeah.
The Black Dot. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
What verse, page?
I'm looking at page 3, verse 52.
Go ahead.
And it's speaking about how Wu-nuwaupians, Wu-nuwaupians, the smallest particles of matter called Nakatat dots, are classified as energy matter or matter energy called dark matter or dark energy. My question was, is that speak like each one of us, is it saying that like each one of us as Wu-nuwaupians are like dark energy in of itself? Like we're literally, dark energy beings, so to speak. Is that what it's saying, or is it saying that we produce the dark matter? I guess I'm trying to figure out, you know what I'm saying, exactly.
Go ahead, read the verse. Read the verse.
Okay, this is what it say. No one understands this Wu-nuwaup is. The smallest particles of matter, called nakat dots, are classified as energy matter or matter energy, called dark matter or dark energy. And then it says nakat dots can be assimilated to your very own minds as inactive ma'ak iya nata'at brain etheric seeds are in a state of condition between the science of something or absolute and the science of no thing in a vacuum. So basically what I'm trying to figure out what that is based on based on the fact that we produce the dark matter, does that say in that, in of itself we're, dark matter beings? Because I know it spoke about in the my brother the extraterrestrial book how we produce sun heat genes. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of just hoping just for a little more clarification
Okay,
with that.
so with the overstanding that, non-ether is a combination of all existing gases and chemicals in nature. We compose of all of that because we're the all inside of all. So the answer to that will simply be yes. But what you have to understand is that Wu-nuwaupu is Wu-nuwaup. It's the supreme reasoning. We have supreme reasoning. We have non-knowledge, the highest knowledge over all. So in those two verses, Pu-nuwaup is unlocking another mystery about your body, your etheric body on a whole, because you're part of a larger body. Based upon the ego, we think that we're individuals, but we're all one body, we're all one mind. We're linked to the mental. Your mind is linked to the mental reservoir, which we all feed off of. And you have an etheric cord that Pt.2, basically your ancestors travel. You could travel back and forth to your etheric cord, which would be your spiritual spinal column. So within our culture, we have sacred orders. We have sacred orders within our culture, and a lot of this is explained from lip to ear. You understand what I'm saying? So, we have the Nuwaupian, the original Egyptian Masonic order, and things of that such, where dark matter and dark energy is explained in depth. But you can do a little research on dark matter and dark energy if you read Pt.2 in the Stargate.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So, the answer to your question would just be simply yes. But it's like Pu-nuwaup is taking us on a sarat. He's taking us on a path, and he's leading us somewhere. Because he can't give us the full bill, as you would say, as he's incarcerated, because by him teaching the exact science, he will be teaching the Kakasu at the same time.
Right.
So as he's teaching us, by being, that's the importance of us getting him out. Because he could come right and teach us right now. So as he's teaching us from in there, he's also teaching them. Because like I said earlier, each thing, like as if he says here, brain etheric seeds. Nobody never heard of a brain etheric seed before. So they'll take the brain etheric seed and they'll say, oh, okay. Synapses, this is where thoughts come from. This is how thoughts come to your brain from the mental reservoir. It's seeds that lay dormant, and what it's explaining here about the dark matter and dark energy, if you read further inside of this series, it explains that our body temperature, or the heat, I'm just paraphrasing it, our body temperature heats up those seeds and it becomes a liquid brain soup. And other species of beings don't have that same, as you said, those sun heat genes to heat up those etheric seeds and to produce, the type of power, to generate that type of power, which would be that non-ball power, because as black suns, like the sister asked earlier, or the online viewer asked earlier, how did we were we involved with the creation of the planet? I say we grew the planet through brain concentration. So it's very important to really understand the dark matter of your brain, the gray matter inside of your spinal column, the 33 spinal nerves, the 12 cranial nerves. Like, you have to really understand all of this, because it all ties into the 24,000 genomes and the 24 trillion cells inside of your body. And it links us back to the matriarch, though. It links us back to our goddesses, because they're the crown jewels of our tribe. They're the crown jewels, because inside of their mitochondria DNA, that's the gateway that beings enter this realm. So it's up to us to protect our crown jewels, which will be our goddesses, because they're the mystery. They're the seed of darkness. They hold all the secrets within inside of their DNA. You understand what I'm saying? So, I don't know, but search out those orders. Come to class and talk to the brothers, and a lot of that stuff will be explained to you. I hope I answered your question
most
to the best of my
definitely.
ability. All right, okay. Are there any more questions?
All right, we have a question from a brother named Kobino Ray. It's an online question. He wants to know, or he says, can you explain the difference between will and free will?
It's a myth. Free will is a myth. As Partner Babian explained some time ago, like we don't really have will. Everything is based upon multiple choices. So if I go inside of a store, or let's say a shoe store, and these things were already placed there prior to me coming. So I have a black pair of shoes, a red pair of shoes, and a white pair of shoes. And I go in and I'll choose a pair of shoes based upon the choices that have been placed there for me already. You understand what I'm saying? So free will in that sense is a myth. But willpower does exist. And it's based upon concentration, thought, and attention that's being put into a particular subject. You'll find more about that in the mind scroll. Okay. That will does exist. If we all spoke the same language, read the same doctrine, wore the same uniform, it's a universal, it's an etheric link that starts to happen, right? And if we all come together to build a project, we might build that project a little faster than, let's say, someone whose mind was scattered on other things. If we all concentrate together, let's say we wanted to just clear out this room, everybody in here, we wanted to use our willpower and just clear out this room. We would do it probably in a matter of 30 minutes. It would look like a big task, to the onlooker, but if we all worked together and used our will to do that, we would clear it out in 30 minutes, as opposed if we all had different agendas. We would come together, we're gonna clean out the room, but I'm gonna move the drums, Atum's gonna move the statues, instead of us all working together. We're all gonna focus our will, hit this side of the room. That's done in 2 minutes. Then we're gonna get all the statues. That's done in another minute. And so as original Nagarus, we would use our brain concentration and focus on getting the task done with full total concentration and attention. So basically what I'm trying to explain is we've been taught will from a religious point of view, whereas though we had the willpower to choose if I wanted to, inside of the Adam and Eve story, if I wanted to bite the apple. Whereas though that God didn't even have to create Adam with any teeth to be able to even bite the apple. So will was given to us from a religious point of view, but there's a power inside of us called will, and it can be developed through attention, because I will to do what I choose to do. I will to do whatever I want to do. And that's just a daily confirmation and affirmation. So, free will is a myth.
It's basically an illusion.
To it.
We have one last online question. It's from a brother named Greg Smith. He says, as Nagaru make their transition to higher life forms or taking on new bodies, leaving this physical world behind and being born through new parents, how do we maintain our link to and our connections to our previous relatives or parents if we are born to new mothers and fathers? Or do we simply build new connections to different mothers and fathers and relatives whom we come from?
I'm trying to understand the question. I have pieces of, read it one more
He's
time.
asking, like how we are genetically, I'll just read it again.
Read it one more time.
It says, as Nagaru make their transition to higher life forms, meaning, shed the physical shell, we take on new bodies and leave this physical world behind, and we be born to new parents, how do we maintain our link or connection to our previous relatives, meaning people that we came from, if we go into other lives?
Mazamal said he wanted to take that question. Go ahead, ask me another question.
This is
that's the last question?
Last online question.
Okay, so basically you're saying how do we keep that etheric link to our ancestors even though we're born in different bodies?
No, he's saying, say for instance you die.
Say two.
Right, okay, as it is now, you're linked to your mother's and your mother and father, their mother and father, so on. That's yours.
My generation.
Yeah, your etheric link.
Okay.
He's saying if you die and move on and you're born in another body, will you still have the same etheric links to your...
Oh, okay. So once again, back to dimensional shift. From what I'm hearing, that would be like a form of reincarnation. Whereas though when we transitioned, originally we didn't reincarnate. We ascended to 24. We didn't reincarnate 24 different times. Okay. So I'm still trying to. That was kind of a long question. I'm still trying to really get the.
I could read it again. Maybe it'll sink in. He wants.
Hold on. Let's see. He says, the seal or block of the curse, which blocked the Stargate portal, created the problem, and you trusting then with your ba'a, with the incarnation process, and for the physical incarnates on Earth. Because of the seal, the Negroid race and the race memory is gone. It was wiped out of the crystal skulls or Earth's cellular memory of 24,000 years. African are unable to remember who and what they are, or where they came from, their life purpose, or where they are going on the evolutionary surat, the path, the filament. So the African race is now entering a new cycle with no memory of their identity. This knowledge was recorded and stored on the crystal skulls activated by the crystal-headed staff, and the staff could be accessed only by a pure being. The seal on the earth in a frequency quarantine of F-flat, F major, and F sharp was done with music or singing, disconnecting us from earth tone or galactical family. That time is ended. If you get back in tune with your planet given to you by Pt.2, it's time for our dimensional shift. Are you ready? Zamal, you wanna pick up on that question? I'm gonna pass the class to Brother Atum Hutit.
Hey, repeat that question one more time for me. I get the full grasp of it real quick. And it's the reason why I'm explaining why he read this real quick.
Okay, here you go. He says, as Nagaru make their transition to higher life forms or take on new bodies, leaving this physical world behind and being born through new parents, how do we maintain our link or connection to our previous relatives or parents if we are born to new mothers and fathers? Do we simply build new connections to different mothers and fathers and relatives? You understand?
Yeah, I got you. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Trying to find the book page. There you go. Hold up. Let me see. Where is it at? Should be. Okay, here you go, right there. All right. You got to understand. This is going to go on with his question earlier with the dark matter, about the black holes, right? Or the dark energy, right? You got to understand that in our doctrine, the further you go back, everything comes mouth to ear. It wasn't no written document. And what they got, when the Caucasian got, they couldn't overstand. They made it mystical or spooky, right? Dark energy is dealing with the dark matter of the universe. All dark matter is what you call Papa-ut. The all expanded. There's no, you can't take from the all, you can't add to the all. What happened was certain dark energies that came out of dark matter started slowing down vibration. It became flesh and blood. That's why in the last class, when we had class, I don't know who's here, right? You had a sum of things that came from no things, because you measure everything by weight, right? So the height H1, H2 is the lightest elements, you know what I'm saying, on the periodic chart, because it has a certain type of weight that it takes in the space of matter. But see, you have other elements like quartz and biaps, right? That's not have no type of weight. So that will be a none, no things, or nothing. That's why in the old Ansar doctrine, when the master teacher used to say back in a book called "For Man, for Planetarists and Science of Healing," he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a state of nothingness to create something. But people didn't understand, when you say nothing, you think like out of the air. But it's always something existing. If I move my hand like that, like our master teacher said back in the day, you're smashing molecules, you feel what I'm saying, in the air, but you just don't see it because is so small, you don't realize what you're doing. You're saying, you call that nothing, but people got caught in Casper and the Friendly Ghost or the mystical stuff. Nothing, like I just created a hamburger out of nowhere. You hear me? That's the mind state of the spell that got you under. So the vibration in the tones and frequencies, right? Everything in the universe vibrates. Vibration causes what? Waves. Waves create what? Frequency. Frequency create what? Sounds. Feel me? Everything is interconnected by tone, vibration, you know what I'm saying? So different dark energy with vibrates at such a slow pace, you became a physical being. That's why in the first chapter of the Holy Tablet, that these melanated beings that were created came down and became flesh and blood. Because they was in an etheric form in that air pockets when they created the universe, going to what my brother said earlier, how a brain or a mind created the earth. It was created the blueprint of something that was nothing and brought into something. You feel me? That it was created on the etheric level and it became a physical level on the other side of the periodic chart, from E1 to E2 to H1 to H2. You feel me? So when he was reading this right here, it was wiped out of the crystal cave. Every time that we incarnated, right, or go into another planet, all your memory and every experience that you had will be downloaded onto a crystal skull. I mean, dealing on this planet right here. Or any other place that you want to. The Master Teacher said they will download your information, which was outformation, and it came information on whatever planet that you were in at the time. The reason why we don't remember now because those scrolls have been erased, so they can be able to put you under a certain spell as a Wu-nuwaupu, like with the Adamite race, where you don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But the key to get back to the mental reservoir is to learn your tone from the Wapic, like I said earlier. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with parents, get that out of your mind. Because this is the spell that you got under. As a Riskian, you had the same genetic makeup. There was no male or female. What you call parents is on a totally different level as what you are dealing with here in the physical. You feel me? So everything was a part of all, and all was a part of that. You mean? When you say parent, you're looking for that emotional connection with my mom and pop. You feel me? But it's not like that. You're dealing with energy that begets energy that begets energy. You feel me? So everything is connected. But we want a personal one. Like the Master Teacher said, heaven will be a busy place. Because then when you die, I'm looking for my mother. But then your mother look for her mother. And and it's chaos. Anybody remember that back in the days? You know what I'm saying? So this is part of the spell. Once we get back to that, you'll pass emotions. You pass certain things. Well, like, it's not a parent thing. It's a etheric thing. Because remember, the Master Teacher said uniform. Even though I don't know if anybody remember this. Remember in the book, I think it was Khalil Gibran. The Master Teacher said, your children aren't from you, they come through you. Once you understand that science, then you understand that you don't get caught up in the parent. Because this is my child, but it's not. That's your physical, genetic, but it's not your soul or the spirit or the Aka or the Ba or the ether does not come from you. It comes from the universe. You feel me? But you want to have a connection because you see a flesh and blood being that you gave birth to in the physical plane, and you want to claim it as your own, and when it doesn't do what you want, oh, you're not my child. You don't act nothing like me. You don't. But you got to understand, they don't come from you, they come through you. Did that answer your question? Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
I'll take it back over. I'll get it back to you. I'm going to get about two more.
That's
I'll take two
fine.
questions.
So-
Get back. And then you will close it out. Yeah, go ahead.
so my question is, what chain of events that led us to the state that we're in right now where we forgot where we came from?
Oh, mixing it with different species, right?
So why were we even allowed to mix in? Why didn't we stay separate?
Okay,
What happened for us to mix? Or
likes. You thought you liked it and you got caught up.
oh,
You ever met a light skinned dude that you liked? Good. You ever meet a guy that you mixed in and you didn't like him?
yes,
Why?
he could cook
Okay.
and he had a job.
So you mean to tell me you had sex with him because he can cook a mean hamburger or something, right? Huh?
Yes.
Oh, he hit that taste button like, oh, you mine tonight? You gonna get, you gonna get you something, right? Because I like the way you make that pasta. You hear me? But you gotta understand, the woman was in charge. That's why it was always matriarch. The Caucasian couldn't do anything to bring the God down. You hear me? So what they did is they infiltrated Africa by taking the male and re-educating him with their doctrine. So when the male came back into Africa with the religion, it took you out of your rightful place as the ruler, right? And he, like inside the black book, it says the man took it by brute force. Because women are smarter than men, so you outsmart. When Pop said, when our master teacher said, when a woman outsmarts a man, you know what I'm saying? The first thing he do is pop her in the face. No, because he can't deal with her intellectually. Are you just a punk anyway? What? Huh? You know, but he know he's a punk. He didn't want you to say to you he's a punk. You ain't no real man. You can't even pay the bills. But you go buy money. You can motivate your money to buy some weed and some drinks. But you can't come up with $20 to pay the electric bill. But you will make things happen when you want to do things. You know, this is a problem women have with men. They're not being honest and being real. If the man be himself, the woman has the choice of whether to deal with you or not. I'll mess with you because I like, you know, you being yourself. You're an asshole, but, you know, I can tolerate you. You hear me? But men are such, they become so much phonies that they become the new Denzel. Like, I tell you everything that you want to hear. And then you'll like him. And then after a couple months or maybe a year, he starts changing. You're like, I don't like this nigga no more. You know, he didn't change. No, he actually went back to being himself. You got caught up in the facade. And after you have 4 or 5 kids by you hate him now because you never really liked him. You like what he told you. And there's no way you're going to get back with him because you can't stand him. And then you start taking out on your kids because your son looks just like the nigga that, you know, that ran game on you. You feel me? So this is what happened in ancient times. You allowed them by your emotions and your compassion because you like the way he cooked, you like the way he looked. You feel me? You like the things that he said. You like the way he dressed. You like the other thing too, you know. And he took advantage of that. You know what I mean? And then you wondering how did I become a single mother with 5 kids and I ain't got no job and I'm on welfare? And when you was going to college to get a degree in bioengineering or whatever, you know what I mean? And now you just a ratchet hood rat in the hood and you got no life and like my life is over with. I'm gonna have to live it through my child, you know what I mean? You know, this is the sad story that happens every day, right? This is the same thing that happened in culture around the world. You let somebody come in, and they appeal to certain parts of you, and this is how they took over, and then you start mixing it, and then it's a long chain reaction. Now that he had a foothold into Africa, he took you out of position because the white man couldn't do nothing for you. First of all, he's not endowed. He don't have that. You hear me? You hear me? So he's like, little nigga, you ain't can't do nothing for me. Get out of here. Your skin is pale, you look ugly, you look hideous. Like, what can you do for me? So he couldn't get the black woman. So what he did is he got the black man to betray you through the Moors, the African Muslims, right? To kidnap the children and they start breeding them. Because you got to think about this. When they were kidnapping Africans, the Africans were trying to escape to go back to Africa. If America was so hot and so the hot spot, why would they try to go back? They know that it's garbage. Where I came from, it's much better. They put them in chain and shackles because they were trying to escape. You hear me? Raped a woman, create a mulatto who actually was confused. Like, I don't know if I'm black or white, so I'll go with master. Cause y'all niggas ain't got nothing. You still picking cotton. I'm up in here eating some shrimps and stuff up in slave house. You hear me? So he ain't want to roll with that. And the kids are like, and then they became your preachers and on a plantation. You know what I'm saying? Because the mulatto was confused. You hear me? So now you are dealing with that mentality. You don't have no power. Then they bring them back into Africa with the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. Then they create wars in Africa, and then you're being kidnapped. And this is how it's a long cycle. This Africa wants to go back home, but now that you're under the spell for 400 years, the shackles are on your brain now. They don't have to put no chains on you. Look at the news. The white racist guy, which I thought was incredible. I thought it was the best thing I heard all year. The guy from the Clippers, oh, he was real. People that I hate him, I respect him. Cause I know we already knew how they think. But when we was trying to tell them, oh, y'all just racist to the white man. No, the white man's racist to y'all. We were never racist. We only retaliating on how you treated us. He's like, why you bring those niggas to my basketball game? I don't want magic AIDS infested ants in my game. Get that nigga out of here. Don't bring no blacks in my game. He was complaining. This is how they really feel. But I take good care of my niggers. I give them money. I give them clothes. I mean, this was the guy who was saying on the news. And y'all was like, black people, like, they were appalled. Because you thought you were a part of the plan. Like, you thought you were equal to them. Right. They look at you like, nigga, please. And then LeBron talked about boycotting when it got viral. Bro, I never said that. If you don't make him not owner, I'm going to boycott the next season. That nigga was never going to do that. If they really wanted to shut the NBA down, there was a perfect opportunity to show that we're about black unity, right? Because they could have said, well, we're not going to play. Or they wanted that little ring. They lost anyway. You was better off boycotting, and you went down in history as an icon and set a precedent because you wanted that ring so bad, you didn't care if you called your mom a nigga. You nigga off. No, I want that ring. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. We're going to turn our jersey inside and hide the Clipper chumpy and make a statement. How weak was that? And then take off the jersey, still got Clippers on it. So you're still playing for the master. Master gives me chitlins and cornbread. Yeah, I'm not going to stop that. You hear me? That's the mentality. You can't even know $1 million. I got my rings. I got my. So they Uncle Toms. They black Caucasians. They know they are. They know they call a nigga. Well, I'm not gonna give up that $1 million. I'm a nigga. You a nigga. You like to be a nigga too. You hear me? So this is why we're in this situation. The species created spells. The Caucasian race created spells just to keep you to say, yes, you can have my blood, Dracula. Here, take a bite. You hear me? Yes, I'm on my cycle. Come, have a drink. Take a sip. You hear me? And this is what they did. They did all this to get your blood. Because the blood is important. The blood is the life, but it's got that gold. They put that liquid gold. You hear me? And they got you to give it up. You go to the store, now, I gotta have some Coco Chanel, I gotta have some Tiffany's. Who the hell was Tiffany? Who is Coco Chanel? You don't know them niggas. But you put their clothes on like you doing something good. I got Louis Vuitton. You don't even know Louis Vuitton. That nigga died a long time ago, but you put his clothes on. That nigga didn't even like niggas, but you still put his clothes on. So you just as worse as the niggas in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I got high fashion. I'm somebody because I got on some Gucci. But they don't even want to sell clothes to us. Like, I don't want niggas buying my clothes, but this is the mentality that we became. We became Negroids. The master teacher said it took them 400 years to create a Negroid, and you are that Negroid. Did that answer your question, though?
It did.
And I'm switching right back to my brother so you can close the class out.
How's that? I'm doing my best.
My question is in regards to the master teacher. Outside of the doctrine, what are some things that were historical that he's done? Should a history book be written about him? What are some things that would be there that we may not know about that's pretty historical?
That's a good question. I mean, just the simple fact that, you know, he's given us new words like you say history, but it's our story. Like our story, you know, is being written every day. Like Pt.2 has raised and built nations. For instance, he's written over 300 books, over 600 books. He's written over 600 books. He's raised 3 or 4 nations. Something that's miraculous. He's been incarcerated going on 12 years now. He has not stopped working one day for us. If a person has been incarcerated, you know how it feels to be inside of that cell. You don't think about nothing but yourself. Pt.2 never thought about himself. He always thought about us. And just his love and commitment and work shows us what we supposed to do. He never stopped working. So if that was one thing, I would say that's the one thing, his love that he had for us as a people. To continue to try to raise us up. People to hate him, slander him, make up all kind of lies. You know, he has 135 years and he never stopped working. Things are still happening. The mission is still growing. So if they was to write anything about us, what they need to say, based on our story, is that we're still standing strong.
Well, I meant more so like as far as like, pardon me, more so like, you know, facts. Like someone like my father, you know, without even belief, you know, like I talked to him about, you know, the 476 acres, you know, the land, you know, just historical things that he's done. That is, wow, one person has done this outside of the writings and what we believe. What are some facts that you can give people?
The music industry alone, as my brother was saying, the music industry alone. But what you have to realize is that the master teacher always taught about us. He never really he wasn't a selfish being. From what each person, the master teacher, you know, is different. Like I came at in a different zero time reference. So your father may be attracted to, as Mazel said, the music. One person may be attracted to the books. One person may be attracted to the type of clothing we wear. It's all about your now and what made you have a genetic explosion. You understand what I'm saying? Because this doctrine is the only doctrine that gives people a genetic explosion. When you speak about 476 acres, that's just a piece of our territory. You know, we're your master Native Americans. We own the whole state of Georgia. You know, so when you want to research facts and history, before they came over here in 1773, we owned this whole. Our landmass stretched from here to Florida, to New York, North Carolina. I mean, the facts is within our tribe as a whole, and him being our president, our seated president since 1992. A lot of the, like I said, it's not even history; it's our story. And each day we live, we inspire the Patarak. So if you was to point your father in a direction, just point him to Panababianun's pen. They cannot stop his pen. They never could stop his pen. I mean, am I answering your question, sister?
For the most part.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Let me redirect it.
No. You don't have to. I appreciate it.
Okay, so what do you mean by history outside of the doctrine? Something.
Well, I believe in the doctrine, and a lot of these things, I'm just saying in regards to just like the fact that there was a museum and there was like bullet points, I mean some of those things outside of what people believe.
So let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of, let's say, okay, we're going to go to the library to research Panababianun. They stocked the library. You have to understand this. If I was a Egyptologist and I'm up here, I teach Egyptology. I've been to Egypt 24 times. I went on tour. There are invaders over there. I cannot just walk inside of a pyramid in Egypt and start deciphering, the Safafat, what the hieroglyphs mean. I'm on tour. So when you look at Tamaray, we actually could sleep outside, go inside of the mirror. You understand what I'm saying? Our structures, they say, oh, it's not stone. It was built, it wasn't built, like the structures in Tamaray. It was fake, but they worked. The whole point of even building a mirror or building a structure on a 52-degree angle, it worked. It corresponded with our body. The rituals and things that we did actually had an effect on the planet and the minds of the people worldwide. So we don't just exist in Georgia, we exist worldwide as Nuwaupians. So you can't go to them to get their story about us. That's his story. That's his story about how we practice things and how we did things. You understand what I'm saying? They stock the library. When you go on the internet and you punch in something on the internet, they choose what to put up on there. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want to point your father in the direction, he would have to go inside of our doctrine to learn what our cultural way of life is.
Thank you.
The Pops, like you said, Pops said, don't believe us, go check it out. All right, you're welcome. Just tell them to come to class. All right. Okay,
I just want to add something to what the sister was saying. I think what she's trying to find out are what are some of the historic things the Pops has done. And where she can get that answer is there's been tons of articles written about him, everything from him cleaning up Bushwick Avenue, all the way down to letters that were written to us from the prisons where they were asking us to infiltrate the prisons with the books because they were seeing a literal change in the prisoners, people that were coming in on death row and things like that. The prison system was actually writing, asking them, we couldn't send enough books out to the prisoners because they would change, the mindset of the prisoners were changing to the point where it was cutting down on riots and things like that. So he's donated to several charities. The brothers, as he raised the brothers up under the Masonic Lodge, they went out and did a lot of good works. They fed lots of people. They've, donated tons of money towards sick children. They've sat with elders and read to them, and these were the things that he taught our people to do. So if you want, and even just going and you can research and find things about, there was articles about this miraculous young man that cleaned up Bushwick Avenue. He didn't just clean up Bushwick, he had Hart Street and Bushwick all the way up to where the train station is. He cleaned up that whole neighborhood to where people that were crackheads and things like that didn't step foot on our territory anymore. Okay, so there are places where he can get that information. There's archives on articles and things like that.
So Panababianun was a philanthropist, a humanitarian, like a lot of humanitarian work And when you
I'm
speak,
his daughter, by the way, so I watched
Oh,
him do
okay.
a lot of this, yeah.
Tawa has it, Montel.
From a baby on it, I've been watching him do this stuff.
Tawa has. Are there any more questions? Hatep.
So I had a question regarding DNA. This is from the updates. It was an email, April 16th. So Pop says that the Makasu, they don't know about a polymer by the name of TNA, thyrose nucleic acid, which is a polymer that produces RNA, which produces DNA. And of course, we can't find anything TNA in their sources, so I'm actually really interested to learn more about that. Do you have any additional information regarding TNA?
I didn't receive that email, possibly Atum. Did you, I didn't even get that bill. Did you get the bill on that?
You talk about TNA? Is it in
TNA.
our doc? Is it in our books? Or you talk about something, the cognition with the RNA?
She said on the update. She got it on the update.
You got it on the update?
I can read
Which,
it.
which update was it? How many weeks ago?
April 16th,
Okay, I didn't listen to it
2014.
again, I got it, but I'll go back to it. So next time I come in class, I'll go into it, then they'll post up online, you can just watch it online.
Sure.
Yeah.
Celtic.
Is it TRNA though?
TNA, there is thyrose
It's
nucleic acid.
THREOS, nucleic acid.
Yeah, but I think it's the way the Caucasus does, TRNA.
Okay.
So just to add on, like to your question, like Panabab Nun, the master teacher,
Or is that transfer on it? You might be right about that, yeah, I have to look into it though.
you know, the master of heaven and earth, he has 720 degrees of information and affirmation, light and sound. So, you know, you figure we have Patrak, we have actual facts, we have, the sisters, that go see Panabab Nun in the visits, bring back the updates. We have so much affirmation that just one person such as myself can't possibly just hold just a fraction of what the master teacher knows. That's why he has many student teachers worldwide. So, as the brother said, he'll research that and come back and ask that, because I haven't received that as of yet. All right. Okay, so with that being said, we'll end class for tonight. Thank you all for coming out to our court.